What's going on, guys? Welcome to the circus. So there's been a lot about Biden and his teleprompter usage lately. I have kind of stayed out of it because the whole thing seemed kind of stupid. But the more I looked into it, it's really not. And so we have yet another example of Trump calling some attention to something that at first seems shallow and kind of petty. He only brings it up in a dismissive kind of way. But then when you take him for what he said and you go look it up, he's telling the absolute truth. And that truth has far-reaching implications if you play it out. So let's just listen to some of his whining, and then we'll listen to some of the media cover-up, and then we'll listen to the Biden campaign cover-up. It's amazing how they circle the wagons around Biden after Trump makes a comment, but let's watch.
Talking about their pandemic, he's reading it off a teleprompter. I'm not allowed to use a teleprompter. Why is that, Phil? They ask questions and he starts reading the teleprompter.
Now here, obviously Trump is talking about I'm not allowed to use a teleprompter at pressers when I'm talking to the press, because that would mean I already had a prepared answer for a question that I supposedly don't know is coming.
He says, move the teleprompter a little bit closer, please.
Can we look at that? Let's look at that.
What will your administration do to help them give them that chance? Thank you.
Move it up here. You know, there used to be a basic bargain in this country. Workers shared in the wealth their work helped create. Move it up here. You know, there used to be a basic bargain in this country. Workers shared in the wealth their work helped create.
Now, we're going to go through what he means by move it up here. He's not talking about actually move the entire system. He's talking about scroll it up. And I'll show you what that means here in a minute. But this is the video that caused Trump to make the accusation. And then Bret Baier asked the head of Biden's campaign about it. And he got a no answer. Let's watch that.
With this, has Joe Biden ever used a teleprompter during local interviews or to answer Q&A with supporters?
Brett, we are not going to engage. This is straight from the Trump campaign.
Well, yeah, they're using it.
And what it does, Brett, is it's trying to distract the American people.
They're using it. They talk about it every day. Can you say yes or no?
That's because they talk about it every day, Brett, because they don't have a coherent
Well, you have
strategy.
an answer. Yes or no?
Brett, they talk about it every day because they don't have a coherent argument for why Donald Trump deserves re-election, deserves 4 more years. We know that he lied to the American people. We know that he has not shown leadership during this crisis, and they are desperate to throw anything they can against the wall to try to distract from that fact.
I understand, but you can't answer the question.
Brett, I am not going to allow the Trump campaign to funnel their questions through Fox News and get me to respond to that.
Well,
something to keep in mind here. He just dodged the question and he didn't answer it. He did that by labeling the accusation a Republican talking point, a Trump team talking point being funneled through Fox News. This is a common tactic used by the socialists attempting to subvert our country. Anytime anybody brings up anything about that party, they don't have to answer you because it's just a far-right conspiracy theory. Labeling it a Donald Trump or far-right conspiracy theory is enough of an answer for these people to move on. It's done all the time, over and over and over again. The side of the political spectrum that is attempting to subvert our country gets a pass on stuff like this. And it's the same tactic. They don't have to answer the question, and they get to make the whole topic dirty, just like they did with the WikiLeaks. It's not only Biden's team and his representatives that are covering for Biden. No. The entire media does. Right after Trump made this little statement, Bret Baier got that, and then this.
Some criticism and falsehoods against Joe Biden, saying that he relies on a teleprompter to take questions. There's no evidence of that. The president himself frequently uses teleprompters in a lot of the events that he speaks in. That is obviously very well known.
Woo! Isn't that slick? Isn't that slick what he just did right there? The president's accusation is that Biden is using teleprompters during question and answer sessions where he shouldn't be able to use a teleprompter because he shouldn't know what the question is. Therefore, he shouldn't have a prepared answer. This is the point that the president is making. This MSNBC host just conflated those two things and said, oh, Donald Trump uses teleprompters at all kinds of events. Yes, but not question and answer sessions.
President directing some criticism and falsehoods against Joe Biden, saying that he relies on a teleprompter to take questions. There's no evidence of that. The president himself frequently uses teleprompters in a lot of the events that he speaks in. That is obviously very well known. He defended saying that he does not, or he would be criticized if he used the teleprompter. That is not the case.
He would be criticized if he used the teleprompter during question and answer sessions with the press. Are you kidding me? You people would take him out back and shoot him. You'd crucify the man. Are you kidding me? But no, what do? They conflate what the president accused Biden of with a non-issue. And then I'm like, well, there's clearly something to this now.
Always to take questions, but I don't get any help in terms of here's the question and you can read an answer to it. I've never seen.
All right, so in terms of here's the question, Donna Brazile got caught doing that for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Here's the questions for the debates. Hillary had the test the night before and still got an F. And then Fox News hired Donna Brazile after Donna Brazile snuck the answers to the debate, or the questions from the debate, to Hillary Clinton. Then Fox News hired Donna Brazile. That should tell you all you need to know about Fox News. But he makes the accusation clear here. It's not, oh, he uses a teleprompter sometimes. No, it's he's using a teleprompter during question and answer sessions, supposedly unscripted.
Anything like it, and frankly, I think the media is disgracing themselves, but it's obvious that Joe is reading the answers off a teleprompter in many cases. I don't know. I think if I did that, I'd be in big trouble. I think that would be the story of the year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would be the story of the year. So, shortly after all of this happens, the Biden team screws up. They are absolutely doing exactly what the president described. How do I know that? Well, it's a video everybody's probably seen by now, but you haven't gone through it yet with me? Let's go. So this was on one of the 25 late shows that I don't watch anymore because I only watched a couple to begin with, and now they're all garbage. I think it's something Corbyn, maybe. I don't know. The British guy who's doing American Late Night. That guy, kind of pudgy, he does the ride-alongs, you know. The ride-alongs are funny. Well, anyways, Biden's doing a video conference, a Zoom call with the Late Show. And the guy does a good job trying to help Biden because he sees it on his television monitor that Biden's giving up the goods. But it's too late. Biden's about to pull out a picture. What I want you to be looking for is the reflection in the picture. Let's go.
So I have so many incredible pictures, including one here that may be too heavy to lift up. But this is one of my favorite pictures. It's a picture of me and my two boys when they were in college.
Oh,
I don't know whether you can see that.
Just move it. Move it. Oh, look at that.
And that's, I have that hanging in my bedroom. And
He's like, yes, please, just move it slightly to the left. So what are we looking at here? Let me show you. So you're looking at the reflection of a large monitor that's in front of Biden being reflected to you by the photograph, by the picture, the glass on the picture that he's holding up. It's a 4-window screen he's got going on. You've got the video feed of Biden You can see his hand is on the picture frame there. You have the teleprompter with 2 different tones for wording. This person is guessing host and Biden. It could be that the words track as he says them. I don't know. And then down below, the video feed of the interviewer. For me, this is unequivocal proof that Joe Biden was using a teleprompter here. You're really just going to have to learn a little bit more with me about teleprompters before you're going to be as sure as I am. Let's do that. So here's the basics on how one of these things works. You have a camera, you put a shroud over it, then you have a piece of glass at a 45-degree angle. And underneath all of that, you have a screen facing up into the glass. What that allows you to do is look straight into the camera through the shroud while the text from the screen, which is upside down facing up, hits the 45-degree angle glass and pushes to your eyes, reflects to your eyes right in front of the camera, so that it looks like you're looking at the camera even though you're reading. Giveaways on this can be left or right eye movement, people getting lost in their speech like they've lost their place while they were reading, and squinting. Squinting is one of Biden's worst giveaways, because if you look at Biden when he's not teleprompting, he doesn't have these eyes squeezed shut like he does when he's teleprompting. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he's got some beady eyes, but when he's reading a teleprompter, you'll see it. I'm going to show it to you later on. For an FYI, you guys, you can actually buy teleprompter systems that are meant to be hooked up with just 2 iPhones. And it comes with a little remote right there so that you can control the speed at which the words scroll across the screen. Many of your YouTubers do this, especially the ones that are in front of the camera the entire time. But we got to look deeper into this technology, so let's do it.
So yes, there's Steadicam, that someone may just have a little Steadicam camera and they want the prompter 2 inches away. So they want a little monitor that will attach to their camera. So there's a lot of legwork for the teleprompter business to find out what is required, because you don't want to show up with the wrong type of setup on the day of the show. Then if it's a live event, then is a person going to be speaking from a podium? We offer the presidential setup, what you see the president read off of with the glass at the podium.
So here we are before the presidential display, and I'm noticing it's interesting when you look down at the whole stand. We see the monitors at the bottom are reflecting up onto the surface, and I know you showed us before the importance of making sure that you get the right pane of glass station so that it's pointing down, but it works as a very reflective surface. How does it keep, what is this glass that keeps it from showing through on both sides?
It's called a beam splitter, and it's very special photographic glass. So first main point is,
just to be clear, this special type of glass is only needed for this type of presidential setup. In a setup with a news camera or a camera at home, the camera and shroud and lens all do what they need to do. Here, you're presented with some difficulties, like they needed to get rid of the shroud.
You know, never see the words on this side where the audience is. It only reflects on one side. The monitors sit at the base. The glass is always at a 45-degree angle, so the words can reflect directly up on the glass. You have to have special monitors because the monitors need to be able to reverse.
And that's not necessarily true, because what it turns out that the reverse text that needs to be projected onto the glass, it's a matter of software, not hardware. So what you need is a program that will reverse the text for you and then display it through a monitor. It can be any monitor. And I'm not surprised this lady doesn't know that.
Be able to reflect the image onto the glass. And the presidential prompters are placed, they vary for each setup, for each room, each venue. Because you want to put them so the people in the audience feel that they are being talked to. So when you see them placed off to the side of the podium, the talent will be speaking to the right of the room, and then he slowly moves over to the left of the room so everybody feels encumbered. And it's the same as far as we follow their speed, they relax, they don't ever have to feel like they are reading, they have full control, and they can just put all their emphasis on the greatness of their speech.
With Biden, what's happening is all of those things aren't being done. He's not having the scrolling being done at the correct tempo. He's having a hard time reading the prompter, and he's not relaxed in any way, shape, or form. More importantly, he jumps in front of what he's reading. When he jumps in front of what he's reading and then he realizes he's made a mistake, he has two choices. He can either just continue to go off the cuff, or he can pull it back around to what the teleprompter says. But a lot of times when he chooses to pull the subject back around to what the teleprompter says, it makes the whole thing not make sense. So I want you guys to listen to this guy as well, about what he says about how the clients oftentimes are saying that they want the display screens higher than they should be.
With the presidentials, a lot of times they feel the glass needs to be like, I'm tall. How, you know, I can't read it. It's way down here. You have to put it at my eye level. I says, that's not usually how we do it. The way it should be is you should be looking down into the crowd like you're speaking to them.
Oh.
If you have it at your eye level, you're looking into the air, you're looking into the sky, above the crowd. So it looks like, who's he looking at? So you see how you're sort of looking down, not even with your eye line?
Right.
So that's like if I'm here, because I'm looking on the audience, I'm watching you. So see how it's aiming down towards me, right?
It's weird. It is weird.
But is that good for you? You see left to right?
Yeah,
fine, right?
yeah,
Okay.
I do. It's comfortable.
Now look here at Biden complaining about exactly what this technician is talking about.
And in addition to that, we have to. Make sure that we are in a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing. In addition to that, we have to.
And by let me move on to the second thing, Biden actually means change the damn teleprompter. Let's go back and learn a little bit more about teleprompters.
So we've been chatting with Sue Steinkamp from Prompt Response. What's this equipment right here that you have?
When we get our script from our client.
So this is going to tell you about how the teleprompter operator interacts with the talent, as she says, or the moron politicians, as I say. Biden may be difficult to handle, but he does not have a teleprompter operator that is in sync with him.
Whether we get it via email, they could bring it on a flash drive, they save it to us as a Word doc, we go ahead and input it into our program here. So when they're rehearsing off the other monitor, the one that they're going to either be talking into camera or speaking from a podium, this is where we follow along with them. And then this is our hand controls, so we can speed up, we can go slower. If they want to ad-lib, we would mark the script ad-lib if there are specific places that we know they're going to go off the copy. This one is special because it just has so many different capabilities. I can hit a memory if I'm doing a video shoot, so I don't have to sit here and scroll back and forth. If we're doing take after take, I can go by one button and get right back to where I need to be.
Now think about that. What else could you use a memory for? Well, you could pre-record responses to known or believed upcoming questions. So let's say you have a teleprompter file with 50 memory positions. Each one of those memory positions represents a likely question to come from the person that is interviewing him. In this circumstance, even if the interviewer is not in on it, Biden may be getting pre-recorded responses to these questions. A lot of these questions that they ask Biden, They're generic, they're general. You could probably sit down and war game out 100 questions that he could possibly get asked, and maybe only 1 or 2 times get asked a question outside of those 100. That is how easy they treat Biden in the media. Let's continue.
Because I wanted to be the fastest in the world so we can be able to jump wherever we need to go into the script.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. So she wants her interface to be the fastest in the world so she can jump wherever in the script that she needs to. Or in this case, wherever in the file that has all the different questions. So I can skip directly to which question is being asked, and I can pull up our predetermined response to that question. You could even have subheadings that have different variations of the same large, broad topic question.
A series of up to probably 75 scripts at one time, and previous and next. If I have people that want to do changes on so many different files, all I need to do is hit previous next and get me back and forth to different scripts that are loaded. We can do a search for a word. I can inverse the script, make it white on black. We have many different ways to get around a very large script. We can set a memory if we're doing take after take and save that spot, so if we need to go back to that spot right away, we can get right back by a touch of a button. We can make the size of the font as large as the client would like. And we can color the letters, we can underline the letters, we can bold the letters, we can center the text, we can pretty much do whatever the talent would like to do so they can feel comfortable reading the teleprompter. It basically will take you to become so fast, quick, that the line of waiting on prompter does not exist.
This is the teleprompter.
So this is the teleprompter.
Waiting on prompter is something that they used to say back in the news days. When you listen to her describe this system, I listen to it 10 times at least, because when I am listening to her describe the system that she has, I know Biden has a far more advanced system, and I'm just thinking about teleprompters are not teleprompters like they used to be. It's become a new device. A teleprompter used to just be one script scrolled at the pace of the person who was reading it. What she's able to do is access pre-programmed responses to hundreds and thousands of questions, variations. If you have that at the tip of your fingers, then you can do live interviews, and the reporter can honestly not be in on it. But as long as they're asking you generic questions, the person running the teleprompter should be able to hit E9, climate change, boom, pull it up. And then, like she said, they can manipulate the text however they would like once he pulls up that script. So there will be cues and stuff like that that are written into it.
Hell, at this point, they should just hook the thing up to an AI that automatically comes up with the answers to the questions that are asked, and then Biden just reads out what the AI is telling him.
This system is advanced, and I think that's why kind of Biden keeps screwing it up.
The camera goes right behind it. We adjust the height of the stand to the height of the camera. The stand can lower if we're shooting where they're talking at a couch. The camera goes right through here where my fingers are. Okay. And then this tightens up, and see, and then you get the lens as close as you can.
What are some of the many ways that a teleprompter can be used? Because we know about the politicians, we know about the newscasters, but it seems like there might be corporate meetings, but there might be a lot of other sort of arenas where one wouldn't necessarily think of how beneficial a teleprompter could be.
We do press events. We travel with car shows. So when a new car is being released.
Right there you go. We do press events. Well, I understand if you're going to make a statement to the press, but most press events have a Q&A.
On the convention floor at the auto show, they are speaking about the car from a teleprompter because it's so vital. They don't want to miss one fact. You have all the press there. You don't want to miss one fact about that vehicle.
Right.
So teleprompters are crucial. So it's so grand to be able to put them at ease, and they know that you are there just solely for them.
Right.
And if they want to rehearse at dinner, you know, backstage, just to be calm, that's her job. To put them at ease so they can go out there and not feel like they're reading and just give their speech.
Well, it sounds like Biden should hire this place.
We've been chatting with Sue Steinkamp from Prompt Response, and
Yeah, if anybody from the Biden administration is listening, it seems like they might be able to do your boy a lot better than whoever is doing your stuff now. Which it would be hilarious if it was these people. So now I think we've got a pretty good idea on how these work and how they would particularly be difficult with somebody who is aging in both sight and cognitive abilities. Doesn't necessarily mean the person's going crazy, but it does make them sound crazy. And just to prove that to you, I want to show you, this is a video of a lady who is just now on a teleprompter for the first time. She has no cognitive decline. She's a completely normal person. She's just never read from a teleprompter before. And I want to show you that it is easy to tell, and it is not easy to do. And it's something that has to be practiced.
All right, a recent survey by the New York Post found that owners of small businesses are optimistic that things will be better in 2017. And here to look at some of the reasons they may.
Now you can already see she's nervous as hell, but it's about to get really bad. And I want you to take note of the fact that she memorizes the first few lines that she has, and she uses that to look at her interviewer. And then when she switches to the teleprompter is when the problems begin.
May be optimistic is Linda McNutt-Foster, the CEO of Cortex Leadership Consulting. Linda, it's always good to hear good news like that.
It really is, and so many times what we hear is reported is when people are laying off people, but you know, there's some reasons to be optimistic in the new year. As of October of this year, Roanoke's unemployment rate was at 4.3%, with Virginia as a whole being at 4.1%. But what does that mean to viewers? It means the good news is that some companies in our region are actually expanding, and with those expansions, many times come new positions to be filled. We've got 450 new jobs to the healthcare sector.
That's good enough. This person, what happened to her is she didn't have her place when she switched back to the teleprompter. What happened? Well, the result was a lot of ums and uhs until she could pull back around to what the actual teleprompter was saying and get back into sync with the teleprompter. Although she does recover, it's never what you would consider a good delivery because the tone and tenor are off on the message. Okay, so now we see why Trump brought this up. We've also seen examples of other people screwing up teleprompters, and we've gotten a really good background on teleprompter knowledge in general. It's pretty impressive that they have all these different kinds of setups based off of what situation they're going into. My point is this video here. Because to me, this is what I would call the ultimate alternative setup. As you can see, when you're doing an interview with an interviewer, you can't have, obviously, a teleprompter in between you and the interviewer. Most of the time, the interviewer won't be in on it with you anyways, and so you can't read off of anything to answer their questions. This is kind of the point of a person-in-person interview, unless you're Joe Biden. Now, if you look at this setup specifically, you can see it's not meant to be used the entire time or read word for word. I think it's used to give him a general outline on what he should be saying. And I also want you to remember that teleprompter right there, it absolutely should not have been able to be set up with the interviewer seeing it and knowing that it was there. This means that the entirety of that interview was scripted, literally scripted, because in order to make a teleprompter script for Biden, they had to have known what questions were coming. And they used camera play here so that you don't see the teleprompter. You almost don't see that Biden's not looking at the interviewer. But you can, now that I showed you the positioning of the teleprompter screen, you will be able to tell that Biden isn't looking at the interviewer. Whichever channel this is, I don't remember which one it was. It's either Telemundo or Univision. They are 100% in on this interview with him. They're using camera play and misdirection, and they gave him the questions ahead of time, and they're allowing him to use a teleprompter in what is supposed to be a question and answer session with a reporter. Let's watch this together, and I might pull it back, show you some things. But keep an eye out. Is he looking the interviewer in the eye? What is he looking at? What does the interviewer mean by, you and I can talk about that?
There will be no deportations in the first 100 days of my campaign.
Let me get that right. You are going to freeze deportations?
Freeze deportations for the first 100 days. And only people will be deported are people who committed a felony while here. That's number one. Okay, I lost that.
Yeah, well, but that's good because we could talk you and I on that.
Okay,
but it's
think about where we are today.
There were more than.
I lost that line there. I lost that line there. What is that? That's okay. We can talk about that, you and I, as if there's like a third person in the room. There's not. He's talking about the teleprompter. I'm sure now you can tell that he's not looking at the interviewer. He's looking off to the side. Watch when he gives his answer and then the interviewer asks him his question. He will literally have to turn his head to face the interviewer.
Deportations in the first 100 days of my campaign.
See, he's staring right now, staring at the teleprompter. Now this guy's about to come in and be like, let me get this straight. All of this is scripted. Remember that.
You are going to...
See, now he has to turn and look at the guy who's talking to him. He was looking off to the side at the teleprompter I was showing you in the previous picture.
Freeze deportations?
Freeze deportations for the first 100 days. And only people will be deported are people...
Now, again, not looking at his interviewer, looking at his teleprompter.
Committed a felony while here. That's number one.
Ooh, that look when you're trying to read the teleprompter.
Yeah, well, but that's...
I lost that line.
Here. That's number one. I lost that line.
Yeah, well, but that's good because we could talk you and I on that.
Okay.
But
we can talk you and I on that? It's so strange. When you consider that the Biden camp called Biden using a teleprompter during interviews a right-wing conspiracy theory, a Trump talking point that was being funneled through Fox News. Isn't it insane how this is blatant? It's blatant. The man says, I lost the line. And the interviewer says, it's okay. We can talk about this one, just you and me. Need the teleprompter for all of this, Joe. We already gave you the answers to the questions, and we'll do as many cuts as it takes. Right? I just want you to watch this one all the way through one more time, and then we're done with it. We'll move on to what I would just say is a montage of him messing up, and they're making him read everything.
No deportations in the first 100 days of my campaign.
Let me get that right. You are going to freeze deportations?
Freeze deportations for the first 100 days. And only people will be deported are people who committed a felony while here. That's number one. I lost that line.
Yeah, well, but that's good because we could talk you and I on that.
Okay.
But
think about where we are today.
Joe, why don't you think about what you're saying? Or more accurately, what you're reading. This is disgusting. And the fact that the media is covering for him, as MSNBC did, when they intentionally conflated Trump's claim that Biden was using teleprompters during interviews with events where everyone expects public figures to be using teleprompters at, large speeches, etc., etc. They completely conflated the two and ignored the assertion that Trump made. And Biden's main guy danced all around that answer and would not answer. Does Biden use teleprompters during question and answer interviews? Because if he does, then that means everything is scripted. All of it. So I showed you the example at the beginning of the reflection of the teleprompter. I've shown you here where he was looking at the teleprompter. I've shown you him reacting teleprompter. Let's look at him in a bunch of different, quote, gaffs that he has, and let's see if they are teleprompter fails. We'll start with him reading a cue. He says, end of quote, at the end of this, and he's not supposed to say that. It's literally the end of the quote that he's reading.
Defund Social Security and eliminate Obamacare in the middle of a pandemic. End of quote. End of quote. It's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it, more lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
Wearing masks, which I never do when I walk outside of this house. I never fail to do. Now, one day, on day one, I believe this every fiber of my being, we're posed. What I propose is it can be done. I think we're in a position to really make it happen. And my team and your team are already working closely together to light up the path forward here. Critical laws like the PRO Act to strengthen collective bargaining. On politics like prevailing and look, I guess I'm taking too much time, but you know, look, one of the things that that I think is really important is that we somehow put that back on. There's somehow that we're in a situation where on some issues we're going to continue to disagree respectfully, but not on any substantive way. You know, I believe there's a great opportunity to work together to deploy policy approaches that can take us closer to our shared goals. So I'm pleased to announce that Bernie and I have agreed to establish, as we said, we already talked about it, 6 policy working groups. One on the economy, one on education, one on criminal justice, it should be reform, not punishment, one on immigration, climate change, and the economy. These groups are made up of thoughtful leaders that have worked with Bernie and some of whom have supported me as well. And the task is for them to develop creative new ideas and proposals. And we're looking forward to turning that work into positive change for the country. So Bernie, I think it's time we let these. I will make an education that, in fact...
The look on Bernie Sanders' face the day after he conceded to this guy who can't read a teleprompter back to him is the freaking truth, man.
Thank you all for taking your part, fulfilling a part, being part of. It honors your heroism now, not yesterday. We needed yesterday. I unveiled a plan. Biden, I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. It appears to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
It's no wonder they're not letting Joe Biden out of his hole, and they're putting the lid on press every day at 9 a.m. This guy must be going through the most rigorous anti-Alzheimer's treatment known to mankind while they change his bedtime from 8 p.m. until 12 a.m. so that he could stay up late enough for the debates. But it's not just teleprompter missteps that make Joe Biden a bad guy. And since we're already on the topic, let's keep going. When Joe Biden goes off script, that's when the people who know Joe Biden really panic. Let's look at Joe Biden off script.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
It's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful.
I sat with a guy yesterday on a telephone, and he's telling me, he said, I don't know. He said, look, I worked at the hospital. And he said, then I got myself in a position where I got the virus, so they quarantined me and they put me in the hospital, and I made it out, and so I'm out. But they don't want me with my family. I'm on the 3rd floor. I spent 15 minutes on the phone with them saying, he said, I have a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. And they come to the door outside and they just knock on the door and say, Daddy, can I see you, Daddy? Can I see you, Daddy?
So we spent time going through it. I used to do it with my kids when they were little and I couldn't see them, and we'd play games. I said, make up a game, knock on the door and say, this is, it's practical things. The guy's scared to death. And he's worried about his children. He's worried about his wife. I mean, these are practical things. And the president talks about this like, okay, it's going to be okay. We're going to open tomorrow. We're going to do this. I mean, I must tell you, it drives me crazy. I don't know what he doesn't understand.
I know more than most people know. And I can get things done. That's why I'm running. And you want to check my shape on, let's do push-ups together, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do. Let's do Number two. No one has said my son has done anything wrong, and I did.
Oh, and make no mistake, there's 100 different examples of Joe Biden being mean to people who question him even barely. But I picked this one specifically so that I could say, you're wrong, Joe. There's been an entire Senate report released, and they all say that your son has done wrong. Now watch him call this poor guy fat.
Not on any occasion, and no one has ever said it. Not
I
one.
didn't say you were doing anything wrong.
You said I set up my son to work in an oil company. Isn't that what you said? Get your words straight, Jack.
That's what I hear on MSNBC.
You don't hear that in MSNBC. You did not hear that. But you heard. Look, okay, I'm not going to get in an argument with you, man.
No, I don't want to.
Well, yeah, you do, but look, Fat, look, here's the deal. Here's the deal.
It looks like you don't have any more backbone than Trump does.
Any other questions?
Yeah, all right. I'm not voting for you.
Well, I knew you weren't, man. You think I thought you'd stand up and vote for me? You're too old to vote for me. All right, here we go.
And those people clapped at that man. But that's also not the worst part about Joe Biden. The fact that when he goes off script, he's incoherent and insulting to anybody who questions him. No, the thing that I dislike about Joe Biden, worse than everything we've gone over thus far, is he's an outright liar.
The great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto trying to get to see him on Robbins Island.
I said arrested. I meant I was not able to move. Cops, Afrikaners would not let me go with them, made me stay where I was. I guess I wasn't arrested, I was stopped.
This guy climbed down a ravine, carried this guy up on his back under fire, and the general wanted me to pin the silver star on him. I got up there and stand and said, God's truth, my word is a Biden. He stood at attention. I went to pin him. I said, sir, I don't want the damn thing. Do not pin it on me, sir. Please, sir, do not do that. He died. He died.
Fake. Yeah, if you don't believe me, you can look it up. Fake. And what is it about lying about stolen valor? Whether it was Hillary landing under fire in Bosnia or John Kerry's BS, it just goes on and on and on.
Made a mistake. I said it 14 years ago. I trusted George Bush to keep his word. He said he was not going to go into Iraq.
The only way we're going to get rid of Saddam Hussein, and it's going to require guys like you in uniform to be back on foot in the desert, taking taking Saddam down.
From the moment shock and awe started, from that moment, I was opposed to the effort and I was outspoken.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes. And we changed attitudes.
When I was about the age of the guy standing over there, I got involved in the civil rights movement.
I was not an activist. I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else. I think I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. The first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school and ended up in the bottom 2/3 of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class.
Top half of my class. But all those lies, even the ones about the military, still aren't as bad as the last thing that just recently came out about creepy Joe Biden.
Been in and out of the Balkans 25 times, in and out of Iraq 26 times, in and out of Afghanistan about 10 or 12 times. And I have no regret every time I'm with you, and I mean this sincerely. As the folks back home can't see it. Can't see it in place. Don't get to fly on the mission with me. Don't understand. They don't fully understand the incredible sacrifices we make for our country. And I want you to know, notwithstanding what you may hear about me, I have incredibly good judgment. One, I married Jill. And two, I appointed Johnson to the academy. I just want you to know that. Let's clap for that, you stupid bastard. Man, you are a dull bunch. Must be slow here, man. No. You know, let's clap for that, you stupid bastard. Man, you are a dull bunch. Must be slow here, man. No. You know, look, you know that. Let's clap for that, you stupid bastard. Man, you are a dull bunch. Must be slow here, man. No. You know, look,
And the funny thing about this is that they come out with an Atlantic article completely making up things, horrible things that Trump supposedly said about the military that were only attributed to anonymous sources and vehemently denied by even the likes of Bolton. And yet, you have Joe Biden here telling an entire auditorium of military members, clap, you stupid bastards. Wow, you guys must be dull. And you can't get that covered on TV. So, to sum up the episode today, guys, yes, Joe Biden absolutely 100% reads from a teleprompter during supposed question and answer sessions with the news media. When he's not reading the teleprompter, he's a general asshole and most of the time incoherent. And contrary to the anonymous sources from the Atlantic, there's video evidence that he's a real shithead to the military. Is that everything? Anyways, guys, like, share, sub the channel. If you'd like to leave me a tip, you can, and there's like a bunch of different ways in the pinned comment below. Sorry if you learned way more about teleprompters today than you ever wanted to know, but the fact checkers are out there, man, and they are defending, saying that this is not the truth. But this is one of those things where, yes, in fact, it is our reality. He does read teleprompters during supposed question and answer sessions. Yes, he does, regardless of what they say. All right, guys, I'll holler at you later. Peace.